have a very special guest. I would like to give you a quick introduction, and then we're just going to hand it over to you, and it's your show. So who we have with us tonight is Demi Davidson, the creator and owner of Thoughtful Dots, a magnificent, just amazing, I don't know what art company, or is that lame?
No, it's mandala art is kind of how I say it, or sometimes they say meditative mandala art.
Okay, so just to get this out of the way, Demi was so kind, so thoughtful Dots.
I see what you did.
And she reached out to us several months ago and said, hey, been listening to the show, would love to send you an art piece, browse through my channel. And I'm like, oh, cool. I go through and I'm like, oh my God, this stuff is amazing. I want a rainbow one, and she sends us one in the mail, and it's just, eventually we want to get it here hanging in the studio, and one thing led to another, and here we are. We're very stoked to have you on. I think your work is just incredible. And it's not just the talent, it's not just the skill, but it's the mindfulness aspect combined with that that's really so impressive. So
thank you so much. The reason that one of the reasons that I reached out to you was because I had seen your art on the background, and I noticed you guys had some kind of sacred geometry type stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you guys did a whole episode about sacred geometry. And when I was listening to it, I mean, I had already been listening to you guys for a while, but that episode, I was like, and I like to gift people artwork, like usually like one time a month or something like that. I really love to gift art. And when I listened to your guys' sacred geometry episode, I was like, these are people that will get it, that will understand it, hopefully. And yeah, I'm glad that you guys like the one that I made for you.
Yeah, you picked the right people to send that to, because we were obsessed. Like as soon as we saw it. I mean, honestly, when I first heard about you and your page, me and my wife immediately went on Instagram to look at it, and we were both like completely taken aback. I mean, it's so like intricate and meticulous.
Yeah.
And like thoughtful. Like, I'm gonna make the joke again. I had to. I'm sorry. I wanted to be included.
That's why I picked that name, like it really is such a thoughtful art form, and it really is unique. Like there are other mandala artists out there. Obviously, I'm not the only one. But when I first saw this art form, I was like instantly drawn to it. And I had always kind of liked mandalas. I don't know if you guys are like familiar with the mandala symbol, but
here's the best part. We're not familiar at all. And so you get to tell us all about it, because I'm actually super excited to learn.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it's really just beautiful. Yeah. So just looking at a mandala, they're just visually, aesthetically, just gorgeous. They're beautiful. And the cool thing is you can do all different types of colors, and they're really just super eye-catching. And I think that's kind of what drew me to them in the beginning. But then as I started to learn more about the mandalas, I started to realize that there's so much more to them. And they actually mandalas are seen all throughout all different types of cultures all over the whole world. And they really are just like a form of meditation. So actually just staring or looking at a mandala can kind of get you more into a meditative zone, which is really interesting. So there's people that follow me that are just like really drawn to it, and they don't really know why. And it's like just this, like, it just draws you in. But also the act of actually creating a mandala. Some people draw them. So there's so many different forms. You can draw them. I've seen people draw them with just like markers or pen, or, I mean, obviously I use paint, but there's so many different forms of it. But just by creating the mandala pattern, that just automatically like does something to your mind that's kind of you into a meditative state. So I kind of call that my meditative flow state.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's like being in a trance, right?
It is
a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. And something super interesting is you guys have seen my artwork, and there's a lot of little details.
Oh yeah,
To
tons.
create the art
And
piece,
texture as well. The texture.
yes, I
Yeah.
like to add lots of texture and dimension. I think it's beautiful. But the art pieces take hours to create. You know, I sit there and I mean, I can spend all day painting,
I can
which
imagine they're so immaculate and like intricate. I can imagine it would take
And
forever.
symmetrical.
Oh yeah.
okay, but the thing is that I am not a patient person. I'm stupid. And before I found this art form, like I have no patience. Like I have actually struggled with ADD. I used to be on medication, like a really high dose medication. And so that was like a struggle of mine, like bouncing between tasks and like just can't focus and just not, I just didn't have patience. And so when I started this, I was kind of like curious why I chose this art form that requires a ton of patience and hours of like tedious work. But somehow I don't know. I still don't really understand it.
Well, it might be because it's so meditative, right? It might be
Yeah,
because it's like entrancing. And so it can kind of like turn off that part of your brain and it gives you something to focus on.
totally. And I think the trance thing is a very real thing because I mean, hours will pass sometimes and it feels like it just went by so quickly. So I think you definitely get just into like a different meditative state, which also is awesome because I don't know about you guys if you have much experience with meditation, but it's really hard.
It is.
Yeah.
It can be. I've been doing it for. I actually started. I think I've told this on the show before, but I'll tell it again. I started doing meditation maybe like 4 years ago or so, 3 or 4 years ago, and it was because I had one of my first and one of my worst really bad panic attacks.
Mhm.
It just like hit me like a ton of bricks out of nowhere, and I'm like freaking out. And my wife Casey has had anxiety and panic attacks like pretty much her whole life, so
Yeah.
she knew like immediately where to go, and she pulled up that Headspace app.
Mhm.
I mean, I had never done it before, but I mean, it blew my mind how much it was able to center me and calm me down and like bring me back into my body.
Mhm.
And ever since then, I was just like never fully able to let it go. I go through periods where I'm like meditating less than I should, and then I'll do better sometimes. But ultimately, it's just had such an amazing effect on my life.
Yeah, meditation is amazing, but for me, for someone that has had that ADD and like kind of chaotic brain,
Mm-hmm.
sitting down and doing it is so hard for me. And I've experienced like such amazing benefits from sitting and meditating, but even knowing the good that it will do for me and for my life, it's still hard just like getting myself to actually sit down and do it. So that's been a huge struggle for me. So I feel like this form of art, it literally is, it's my form of meditation.
Yeah.
And it might not be the traditional sit in silence, but I feel like it's doing the same thing because with meditation, the idea is to kind of let your mind, let your thoughts go, be
Mm-hmm.
present in the moment. And that's the same exact thing that happens with me when I'm painting. So for me, I mean, I still do other forms of meditation, but for me, this is like something that I enjoy and it just comes a lot more naturally and easy for me.
That's completely valid. The like meditation, I think that's a common misconception with meditation is that a lot of people try to like it almost feels like gatekeepy kind of where people are like it's not real meditation if you don't whatever.
Yeah.
But no, there's like waking meditation, which is like no matter what you're doing throughout the day, you're repeating like mantras in your head to remove the other thoughts. And yeah, I mean, Ryan and I have had conversations before about how for us, like music is meditation. Like
Oh yeah.
when we're playing and creating music, it's like everything else just turns off. So I
Yeah.
fully get it. And I think it might even be a little bit more severe in your case because you're doing such meticulous little details that it's like you
Yeah.
have to be hyper focused. I love
Yes,
that. I think that's
totally.
incredible.
It's
Yeah.
excellent because it's like not only, are you making these just amazing, flawless art pieces, but that's like stimulating your brain in a way that's meditative and calming and relaxing. But then you turn around and you get to sell them and make a living off of it. Like honestly, like it's a 2-for-1 deal.
Yes. And I feel like just so much thought goes into them. And I feel like people can really like feel it, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's what artwork is about, is like you're
Oh
getting
yeah.
it with the artist. And I feel like when people look at my art, they can kind of feel what I felt when I was creating it, if that made sense, which is very like calming and that kind of relaxing.
That's so interesting that you said that. That's another conversation Ryan and I had recently where it's like that's what art is. You're absolutely right. You're right. You're taking whatever your medium is or your art form and you're sharing your unique experience through your art and like you're like sending messages through it. Like I challenge anybody to look at that behind you and tell me it doesn't make them feel something. Like look at that. It is captivating. That's what art is. You nailed it. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I
Were you
personally
guys were you guys by any chance on the topic of AI art when you brought that up?
What? No, I don't. And Ryan, have you and I talked about AI art?
quite extensively.
We did, right?
We've made AI art together.
Right. That's
It's
right.
kind of
So
a big topic right now in like the art community.
I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I've brought it up on my page. I try to just be very objective. I'm never like trying to sway someone one way or another. I just am more curious people's thoughts on things. And it more so was just with all the AI art coming out, people were doing the app with all the pictures and it's super cool, but then it just kind of gets into the thought realm of like, what is the future going to look like when it comes to art? And I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty open. I feel like it's new territory that people are just trying to understand better. And to me, as an artist, I think it's just more like feeling and intuition thing like that. Like I just said, like an artist is putting a part of themselves into art.
Yeah.
And so AI art is kind of lacking that human aspect.
To me, the artist is like a channel, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Considering that we live in a psychic universe, for the first hermetic law, we live in the mind of the creator of the all, right? The infinite. And we're all just various different channels connecting to this frequency in different ways. And I believe, all of us are born with different abilities to channel something uniquely different, and I don't know. I think it's incredible. Your art, like just touching it and feeling the texture and like every little dot is literally thoughtfully placed symmetrically. It's definitely channeled material.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I challenge some robot to make something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Casey, my wife, is also an artist. She made all the art that's on the wall in the studio. She's very passionate about the AI art conversation too, because it also takes opportunities away from artists.
Yeah.
And so but it is pretty scary because some of it looks pretty incredible. A lot of it looks like pretty soulless,
abstract.
Yeah, but some of it looks pretty cool. So I don't know. It's a little eerie. It's kind of scary, but it's cool.
I'm curious to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I've had some people say that it's helped them with their business in some certain ways. And there's part of me that's like just thinking it's just kind of uncharted territory. And I think that can freak people out. I mean, it does me, it's like that unknown of where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So I think it will be interesting just to see where it goes in the future.
I
Do
will
you
say,
have? Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just gonna say, there's some AI on YouTube that stream like 24/7, making different types of music, and I gotta say, they sound like soulless monsters just thrashing instruments. And
Yeah.
there's one in particular. It's called like Death Metal Bot or something,
Yeah.
and it even sent this. It's not a secret. I mean,
Oh.
for anybody who may be tuning into the show just to catch Demi, or for anybody who already listens to the show, and you probably already know that we're super into metal and we make
Yeah.
music together. Well,
Yeah.
we checked out this Death Metal Bot, and it honestly sounds like a terrifying nightmare from a horror film. It sounds
Okay.
the AI music is not quite there.
Not there.
I think
Not
the
there
AI
yet.
art is a little farther in the future, but
Right. Yeah. The music's not there for sure. It's pretty
very
scary.
soulless.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of creeps me out. Like the pictures, they're cool, but
Yeah.
like the ones that people were doing with the app of themselves,
Right.
it looks like them, but
Yeah.
I always think, what's that saying about like your eyes are the
Windows
something
to the soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
windows to the soul. So like the pictures are pretty, but if you look at the eyes, they're just like
Oh yeah.
it is soulless. Like they're just
The eyes are always creepy looking. The
Yeah.
eyes never make sense in the AI art. Yeah.
And there's
Hey.
like a bit. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious about something. Was mandala your introduction to meditation, or had you done any prior to that?
So that's a good question. And I was actually thinking about this recently because I was trying to figure out when I had gotten into meditation. And actually was when I got sober. So that was in 2019.
Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah,
Good for you.
2019 was like a big year change. I decided that I wanted to give up alcohol and kind of like pursue a more mindful life, I guess. I just kind of wanted to figure myself out more and get to know myself on a deeper level. And I knew that just removing alcohol was the best decision for me at that time.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
so-
You should be very proud of yourself.
Totally.
yes. I mean, sobriety has been such a huge part of my life. And honestly, it's the reason that I've been able to do art and create this business. Like I would not have been able to do this before had I kept drinking. So super grateful for it. But in doing that, I figured that the best way to get to know myself would be to start to pursue something like meditation, really get to sit with my thoughts. I was a very different person than I am now. I was very detached, very unemotional. I think Alex has some of that, right?
I do listen to the show.
Hard time with emotions.
Get him.
See, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I love the show. I listen to the show," but you really just proved that you listen to the show.
Get him.
That's hilarious.
Alex, what do you have to say for yourself?
I don't have anything to say.
You're working on it though, right? And
Well, I'm trying, yeah.
There you go. There you go.
You know, it's honestly one of the hardest things. And I
Yeah.
think that it's really hard, especially for men, just
Yeah.
not used to talking about feelings. And it's a really hard skill to learn. For me, it was kind of a defense mechanism, I guess. Like
Mhm.
I just have kind of a crazy past. I've been hurt in a lot of different ways. And I feel like I just at some point got to the place where I was like, okay, I can't deal with the pain, so I'm going to shut it off.
Mhm.
And for a long time, I really believed that that's who I was. And come to figure out it's not at all. It was just a way that I was coping.
Wow.
And it was kind of the same with alcohol for me. That was another, like, let's not deal with it. Let's just turn it off and numb it out. So when I got sober, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Joe Dispenza and his work.
A little bit.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So he's awesome. He has a lot of meditations that you can do. He also has books and stuff that are great. But actually, my mom had gotten really into his meditations. So she had all of the meditations and she sent me some, and I was like, I'll just give it a try. And they're actually very powerful. And if I ever do like a sit down meditation like that, it's usually Joe Dispenza's meditations. And so I actually had a brief little, like, not psychedelic, but almost there with his meditations, which is kind of wild because I normally don't see anything in meditations. I feel like some people are very visual and can meditate and like go to other places and have all these experiences. And I've never really been like that, except for one time doing one of his meditations on the pineal gland. And I had actually been kind of seeking an experience in a way. I kind of just was in a place where I was wanting that. And it was literally just like a couple seconds where I actually saw a mandala, and it was very colorful, like kaleidoscopy. And I remember getting so excited in the moment. I like felt the excitement come, and as that happened, it went away.
Whoa.
So that's profound.
Yeah. And I've heard in meditation that like that's normal, that when an experience starts to happen, your reaction is to like excitement. And as soon as that excitement comes, it tends to go away. So you almost have to learn to like control the excitement to like stay in the experience longer. But yeah, it's really interesting. Anytime I've really had any visual experience like that, it's been a mandala.
Interesting. Wow. So I'm pretty sure mandala is a Sanskrit word, which means circle, correct?
Yes.
And I know in the ancient past, they're also known as Buddhist mandalas. Sages would have these mandalas, and like you said earlier, they would stare at them to reach these altered states of consciousness, similar to kind of like, you know, some sacred geometry, you know, like that's why I like the Metatron's cube. I'm so thankful. You were the first person in all of our listenership to have ever commented on the sacred geometry on the wall. And we talk about sacred geometry all the time. And no one has noticed. I'm very appreciative of that.
Artwork. It's beautiful.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yo,
you
wait.
Can thank Nick's wife for that.
Real quick. Yeah, she's the greatest. Ryan, real quick. So you said mandala is a Sanskrit word for circle. They used to. So where did it originate? Where did mandala originate? Does anyone know?
I mean, as far back as when Sanskrit was a living language, which would have been maybe like 5,000 or more years ago.
And they would just stare at them and trip.
To read that. Yeah. And so I wanted to piggyback off that. So recently I've been particularly invested in studying like Gnosticism and Rosicrucianism. I stay away from the Masons. They're too silly for me. But anyways, diving deep down into like the Gnostic teachings and like some of the meditation exercises that they give, they don't use the word mandala. But like, for example, one of their exercises is something like, imagine a spinning lotus flower of white light with the petals rotating clockwise in a symmetrical pattern, surrounded by an infinite fractal wave of rainbow color or multicolored rainbow petals in all directions. It's like these visualization exercises. You're basically visualizing these intense psychedelic mandalas in your mind. Is these exercises that the sages were doing. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how
I never put that together. Like now that you phrase it like that, it makes so much sense. Like a mandala is kind of the thing that you see when you're like tripping or whatever. It's like you see things like that kaleidoscope.
I could tell you right now, you probably know this if you heard the Duncan Trussell episode. I did DMT once. No thanks. Not again. But I caution anyone out there, this is not for the faint of heart. But I can tell you, looking at that art behind you on the wall, it was a little bit like that, except my experience was more rainbow colored. Actually, shortly after I did that and woke up from that very terrifying place was when you messaged me weeks or a month or so later, and you were like, what color do you want? And I was like, I want rainbow. Everything in the DMT realm for me was literally like you see, it was psychedelic rainbows. So yeah, I mean, I think you're tapping into something on the 2D plane, something that's beyond our dimension.
Yeah. Yeah, I've posted on my Instagram account just out of curiosity, just like asking my followers, like, what does a mandala mean to you? And there's something about it. There's something that each of us has that we are able to connect with it in a certain way. The fact that I even experienced that in meditation before even really knowing much about it or knowing the meaning or anything like that, and the fact that people do see it when they do psychedelics, like there's something about it that's natural. I'm not really sure, but I feel like there's something that connects all of us.
It's
Yeah.
just like sacred geometry,
Mhm.
sacred geometry you see in nature everywhere. Like the what's it called? Fibonacci?
Fibonacci, yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's like the building blocks of everything that's alive and natural in our world. So yeah, to say that you're tapping into something sounds real, and it's sacred geometry. So
Mhm.
were you did you get interested in sacred geometry because of the mandala, or was it the opposite?
I've always kind of been interested in sacred geometry.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
has kind of been an interest, and I think it's just another one of those things that you're drawn to, and maybe you don't really know why at the moment. But I had known about sacred geometry before.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so before the mandalas, and then yeah, so I'm not really sure.
Do you mind if I ask you a question that might spark like some thoughts for you?
Yeah.
So you had sent us some notes through the email. I've been
Yeah.
dying to get to this part. I asked you on the phone the other day. And you wouldn't give it up. So the first point you sent in was you grew up with New Age beliefs passed down from your grandma, your grandpa, and your mom. Now, the
Okay.
reason I'm asking is because I would imagine, being exposed to that, you've had an inclination to sacred geometry through those beliefs. Is that correct?
Yeah, totally. So my family history is kind of interesting. Um, both of my parents grew up in Utah.
Okay.
So they were kind of in the Mormon faith. And then both at some point realized that maybe it wasn't for them. So they got out of it. But on my mom's side, they all have these just I mean, New Age is the only way I can describe it.
Right.
Kind of like that metaphysical. My mom, grandpa, and grandma are all Reiki masters and like healers. Like my grandma
Wow.
is such a powerful healer. So
Whoa.
we have that in our family, and I've just kind of been thinking about it lately, and something I remembered was she always had crystals. Like crystals were always a thing in our family. It's so normal to me. All of this stuff, honestly, is really normal to me because I've been around it forever.
Boom. Crystal alert. I have a Jade Gengar on a Pokeball.
That's awesome. Yes,
This
I
is
love
this is
Yeah.
chalcopyrite. It's the stone of the mystic. It's pretty cool. We just had to pull out the crystals. You said the
Yeah.
magic word.
You start
Yes.
saying the word, we start showing off. I have one too.
Hey, let's go.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Oh, you trying to flex? Hold on.
Hello, Buddha.
Got a big old sphere. Oh, you got the Buddha?
Do you have one of these?
Oh, well, do I?
That's part of the show. Why don't we do this all the time? Hey, this is a tiny Squirtle that's made of fluorite.
And I have a Charmander.
Yes.
Oh, look, big
Crystal light.
Squirtle, little Squirtle. Oops.
So cool.
Yeah.
But
You said
anyway,
the magic word. We had to.
yes. I remember my grandma had like all these just books and stuff, and there was one that stood out to me that was about indigo children. Are you guys familiar with indigo children?
Very, very.
I'm-
People used to tell me I was one when my dad would take me to UFO conferences back in the day.
Yes. Okay. And so my grandma used to tell me that too. And I saw this book and I was just so drawn to it.
Also
Nick,
known as rainbow children in some
Yes.
circles.
Are you familiar, Nick?
I'm not. What is that?
So the best way I can describe it is like there's certain kids that were born at certain times, basically brought here to raise consciousness, and a lot of them have different like gifts and abilities. Really
Okay,
strong
cool.
That's
intuition.
exactly, basically,
Yeah.
how I was explained it.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. So she had that book, and I was
For
just
star children, whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, they have
Okay.
a lot of different names.
Gotcha.
She always kind of told me that she felt that I was one of those. So from like a super young age, I was always really into this stuff. And I feel like with new age and more metaphysical beliefs, like I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand with UFOs, aliens, and that kind of stuff. And so I've literally had this interest since I can remember, like so young. So it's always been so normal to me. I've never thought it was weird at all.
I'm just doing a quick analysis of your aura, and it does seem to me, it does seem to be correct that you are an indigo child. It just makes sense.
I'm special.
It just makes sense. The following, the manifestation of your wishes and your dreams into literally now it is your full-time independent career, creating this art, which is literally, as we've covered, it's, this ancient, sacred, meditative visual scape. I mean, yeah, I would say you probably are an indigo child.
It all makes sense now.
It does. It really does.
Life and everything. It just worked out perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So whenever you first found out about the Bledsoe story, was that through the podcast or was it before then?
So I actually heard about this podcast through occult symbolism and pop culture. Isaac Weishaupt.
Oh, shout out Isaac.
Shout out Isaac.
That's my boy.
So he recently changed his name and rebranded. So I was trying to remember the new.
He did. Yeah, he did.
Oh,
Yeah.
he
Changed the name of his show. It's similar, just different.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's
That's my
symbolism
boy.
in pop culture.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's how I heard about you guys. And he actually has mentioned you guys a couple times, and he was kind of talking a little bit about the story. And I was like, how have I not heard of this? That sounds really cool. So then I went over and just started binge listening to all your guys' stuff. And
Isaac is a G. I greatly appreciate that. I love that dude. He is one of my very favorite people in this entire industry. He's a very good person.
He's awesome. And he actually is in Utah as well. That's where I'm at. So we both live in Utah.
No way.
Yes.
That's incredible.
awesome.
The home of Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I need to hear your thoughts about Skinwalker Ranch.
I think it's fascinating. And I don't know. I feel like it's some type of portal, or there's something going on energetically that allows for these different creatures or whatever. I honestly, I don't think it's one thing. I don't think it's one type of like cryptid or interdimensional being. Like, I think that there's something going on there that allows all of them to like come in and out.
I agree. I think I feel like I've been hearing about like energy ley lines and like energy, what do they call them when there's like a conflux or like an energy vortex?
Vortex. Okay.
Yes.
So that I used to live in Sedona, Arizona.
Ooh, cool.
Which is another hot spot for energy vortexes.
Whoa. Okay.
It's one of those like ley line places.
That was one of the other notes you had sent in. How you you grew up in a haunted house.
Wait, excuse me? Whoa, hold up. Whoa.
I don't know if this is a appropriate way to describe it, but I would say I did too.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I would say it was haunted. Maybe by good haunts and good spooks, but
mine was not good. I'll tell you about it and let you guys decide.
Oh my gosh.
But I hate this house. And it's so interesting because I was telling my mom about it the other day, and she's like, oh, it makes me so sad that you didn't like that house. Like, I loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, we had totally different experiences.
Whoa.
Hated that house. And I almost wonder if it's because I was like young, like I was a kid. So maybe I experienced more things. I don't know, but
could be.
I think that's fair to say. I think
more sensitive to energies and things.
Exactly.
So it was an old house, and it's really interesting because I've actually, as an adult, tried to do some internet searching and like find out the history of it and stuff. But it's really interesting because there was like part of the house that was there And then the other part was like brought from somewhere else.
Mm.
So
Wait,
it was an
what?
You
addition.
disturbed the spirits.
Isn't that weird?
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I mean,
So I
so
couldn't
okay.
find the history of the part of the house that was brought from somewhere else. So it's really hard to try to find info on it. But yeah, I really wanted to know like if anything had happened there because it felt
What kind of
super.
things did you I mean, did you see things? Did you hear things?
So I never saw anything, but so my parents divorced when I was like 8, and I stayed living there with my dad. And
Gotcha.
it's funny, but he used to like straighten my hair and do my hair for me before I would go to school.
Oh,
I know, it's so sweet.
that's so sweet.
There was
Yeah.
this one time where we were in the bathroom and he was doing my hair. So we were both facing towards the mirror and there was a door behind us. And he actually saw a white figure pass by.
White?
And yeah, he like actually saw a ghost.
Wow.
There was nobody else home. He saw it, and it's interesting. I don't know if I was distracted or not paying attention, or I didn't see it, but he totally did. And I remember he even like went out there and was like, "This is weird." Like,
And you weren't able to find anything, any sort of like grisly deaths or anything in the history of the property?
no.
Did you say they took a piece of another house?
Yeah, it came from somewhere else. So I think it was the
What?
upstairs part of it.
That's so
it
weird.
was kind of on a hill. So there was like the main house, and then they just like added an addition. It was like an already built piece of the house that came from somewhere else.
That's so weird.
My aunt happened to live in a haunted house down the street from my house. When I was like an infant, I might not have even been born, but they had been seeing apparitions, and there was like scratchings on the wall, and like my uncle woke up in the cornfield because it was a big yard. It was basically cornfields around the house, and he wakes up in the cornfield. He was touched in the shower by like a hand, and like all this crazy stuff. They moved out of there after all this had been compounding. We look up the history of the house. And it turns out like 100 years ago, the farmer that lived there shot his pregnant wife and daughter and then shot himself in the cornfield.
In the cornfield.
My uncle woke up in that cornfield.
And I am not kidding you. That house is literally what, like a quarter mile from your house, Ryan? It's like,
yeah,
we would pass by
my old house. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We would pass by that house like all the time. It was on my bus route, we passed by. It was on our bus. I don't know why I said my bus or our bus route.
Right.
We passed it all the time, and I swear so many times I saw weird dark figures in the windows. I've heard so many weird stories. I mean, I've heard many of them from Ryan because his family lived there.
Yeah.
But like, isn't it like nobody stays there longer than like 6 months or something like that?
That's the funny thing. So in my like 11 years living in that house, driving by this house literally daily, on the way in and out to the house, I recall like never seeing a family live there for more than a few months. And the funniest one was we're driving by one day and all of their stuff, mattresses, sheets, furniture is just thrown out the windows in the yard. Like people would live there for a while and then they would just get out.
Oh my gosh.
Literally.
Yeah. It's wild.
I have another idea of maybe what could have happened. I don't know. It could have been haunted before this. But me and one of my childhood friends, we were super into spooky things. Like I don't know. It's just another part of like that history.
It's because you're an indigo child.
Yeah. Yes, I'm drawn to the unknown.
You're drawn to the things beyond the veil. Yeah.
Yes. So we used to do just like, I don't know if you guys ever did Bloody Mary or those. Like,
I was too afraid to do that.
I didn't do it, but I would watch the movies. I would watch the horror movies, but I wouldn't like do it,
Yeah. We were such young kids and we were just like really into like The Exorcist and like this crazy dark stuff that now as an adult I know better. I know. But back then we were just so into it. And me and one of my childhood girlfriends, we summoned spirits in the haunted house.
Wow.
So I don't know where I learned this, but we lit candles, turned off the lights, held hands, and basically invited in these spirits.
You learned it from that 90s show Charmed.
I learned it somewhere.
Did you?
Probably.
So, did you guys have any weird experiences prior to that?
I can't remember. I can't remember if the
I
experience.
think we just solved it.
After.
I think we just solved it.
Ghost busted.
Ghost busted.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't remember anything like happening that night when we did it. And the funny thing is like I've always wanted to have experiences. Like I've always wanted to, even with like aliens or UFOs or anything, like I've always been that person that's seeking it. Like I've wanted to have those experiences, but never have.
You never have still?
No.
It'll happen.
All right,
It will.
here's my offer to you. Because you're so kind and you're so wonderful. You do have a husband, correct?
Uh-huh.
You and your husband, sometime in the following year, and my wife wanted to meet you, so this works out.
Mhm.
You and your husband, you fly out, and we'll go hang out with my dad, and we'll go orb watching.
See the orbs? I
Yeah.
would love to see the orbs.
Listen to me. It's like pretty much a guarantee. Like if you go, I don't know. I mean, I do know that, but it's like these days, if you go there, if you go to the pond, you're gonna see them. Like you're going to see, and probably a lot of them.
My
I'm-
husband's really into this stuff too. So
He is perfect. You
That
gotta have an
would be-
open mind. People, it's truly counterintuitive. People, skeptical people who are not familiar with this, they hear, "Oh, you don't see stuff if you don't have an open mind. Oh, you don't see stuff if you don't believe. Oh, that sounds fishy to me," or whatever. But like the reality is, these beings are very intelligent. They're pretty much omniscient. They have their own free will, and they do not connect or resonate with people who are not open, truly open to seeing them or having an experience with them. Because here's the truth. They respect our free will. And we got to meet them halfway to see them, So people who we've had skeptics try and come,
yeah,
they don't see anything. You and your husband, come on over.
I would love to see some orbs.
I'm trying to get Isaac to come out. He was supposed to come out in November, and we
Right.
were going to like try to film them and do all kinds of stuff, but he had some family stuff come up, and we're talking about rescheduling, but that'd be cool. Do a big old Utah collab, get some people
That
out
would
from
be so
Utah.
awesome. I'd be so down for that.
That would
Yeah.
be that'd be super fun. And it's like 10 miles from my place, so I'll see y'all there. Yeah, that'd be super fun.
That'd be
Um,
amazing.
so at that house that I lived in, after that, like I never saw, say, a ghost or anything like my dad did, but I'm very like intuitive. I feel like I have a very good gut.
Yeah.
And I was always so just terrified in that house. It was a feeling of fear. I always felt
Mhm.
like something was watching me, like something was there. So I was just constantly scared. And I would actually have dreams. So
Ooh, let's talk about that. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
they were just dark, demonic.
I have a
That-
lot of experience with that.
I do too,
There
honestly.
was something that was with me. I know that much.
I believe you. When I was 17, and keep in mind, these crazy experiences, including like NASA and all these government agencies coming to my property, this started when I was 13. So here's me 17, like living a totally spy's life, like during the day. By the way, loved that show, Totally Spies. Oh my God, they were so hot. They were so hot. Love that show. And I lived a totally spy's life, like going to high school during the day, like playing normal, and then going home and having experiences at night. And there was a time, particularly, in my senior year, which is when I was 17, and I started listening to particular kinds of metal music that were like really dark. Like I started off listening to the Christian metal, like Killswitch Engage. They're not technically Christian.
Dude,
Devil
it
Wears
might as well
Prada.
be.
Might
Yeah.
as well be. August Burns
August
Red.
Burns
Like,
Red.
yeah, like
Thanks.
I had the itch for this dark, spooky music, but I like justified by listening to the ones who were Christian. And then when I turned a senior, I was like, man, I'm too cool for that. I started listening to really dark shit like
Emir?
Emir, Oceano, and listen, and Oceano in particular, and Emir.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
started to have nightmares.
Mm.
I started to have, and I was such a little weirdo, man. I don't know what was wrong with me when I was a kid. I didn't know I had ADHD till I was an adult, so I always had trouble sleeping. Like when I was a little kid, I would stay up all night. You can ask Nick. In the 15 years we've been friends, I am guaranteed always the last one to be asleep at any function. My brain races. My thoughts are going fast. So what would I do? A crazy little psycho 17-year-old kid, I would be playing music to go to sleep. And you know what? I liked this music. So some nights I would put it on shuffle and I would be listening to this stuff while I was going to sleep. And I started having nightmares about spirits haunting me and possessing me. And when I gave up this music and switched back to stuff that wasn't such like vile, dark content, the nightmares went away. And one night I had a dream that like a white smoke came out of me. Ooh. And I'm not sitting here saying I was like possessed or anything, but I think that this stuff, whatever, has an energetic effect on us that we can see in our subconscious, in our dream state.
I have something interesting to say about that, because what Demi, what you just said reminded me of something that you said, that feeling that you got where like you felt like something was always like watching you, you felt afraid in that house or whatever. Yeah. I felt the same way at his house. Oh, really? Yes. All the time. Like it's like you can feel, it's like I could grab the air and feel it. It's like the air was so vibrated. Yeah. It was insane. And then, so you said that, and I had the thought like, well, I wonder if maybe we act as like some type of filter and we interpret it in the way that our subconscious, like it filters through our subconscious. Yeah. And then that can dictate the experience. And then what you just said, Ryan, about like the dark, heavy music or whatever, and it affected your brain. I think that more comes from the subconscious. You were probably feeling guilty because you felt like you shouldn't be listening to that music because you're probably right. You know, the Christian stuff or whatever, because Ryan and I actually had a youth pastor at church who listened to like strictly it's called black metal and like satanic music.
Like Swedish black metal.
Like, yeah, like satanic music. Like the lyrics were explicitly satanic, but he was our youth pastor. And he basically told us one time, like, if it doesn't affect you, then it doesn't affect you.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I wonder if we almost like our subconscious or like maybe our spirit acts as like a kind of filter. And these things can be interpreted different ways because the beings that have, as Ryan said, haunted the Bledsoes all these years, we know that they're benevolent, they're light beings, they're pure energy, they're love. But I felt fear. You know what I mean? Okay, it's almost like I was feeling fear in the face of like just power, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. It's being out of control, being afraid at like what you don't understand. Maybe
that's a good point. Yeah, it could be that. It's just I don't know. I find that really interesting because two similar experiences, but they were perceived very differently. That's really cool. I love energy and that kind of stuff. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, I didn't love being scared all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
And there was what?
Do you recall any of your like dreams or nightmares that you had?
Yes.
Oh goodness.
It sounds kind of weird to say, but there was.
Well, you don't have to if you're not comfortable.
No, it's we'll see how it goes. But there's one recurring.
Get your scissors ready for cuts, Alex.
There was a recurring dream where I would jump into a pool, and every time I jumped into the pool, there was like this demonic something that was giving me a scratch on my back. And then I'd get out of the pool and then I'd jump in again. And it was like another scratch on the back.
Whoa.
It was really weird. I don't know how to like interpret that or explain it.
My first thought is you're jumping into the water, which is the deep abyss of your subconscious mind. And maybe your mind is like preventing you from fully interfacing with whatever it was that you're dealing with, or you know, that's just my first thought. I mean,
yeah. I think I had like a lot of emotional turmoil going on as a child. And I think, I mean, that stuff can also influence how we interpret different things in our life. And I don't know, maybe that's kind of like I was going through emotional feelings at that time, and maybe that somehow influences the experiences that I had with whatever was there,
Oh
Who
yeah.
knows? Or it could have just been really demonic and
Yeah.
oh,
No,
there was-
I tend to think you're right.
yeah.
It's like your experience manifesting, in a
Mhm.
dream.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like your emotional state was outwardly manifesting
Mhm.
this experience or
Your
whatever.
brain was showing you your emotional state.
Yeah.
That's what, it was like showing it to you, or your spirit,
Mhm.
maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't your brain, but yeah, I can imagine the turmoil and
Yeah.
what that must have felt like. I could absolutely see that manifesting in such a vicious way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually there was one night that I actually I had woke up and I heard somebody breathing in my room.
Wow.
And I was fully awake. I kind of just thought it was my sister because my sister lived there at the time. But yeah, it was like full on breathing, like in the corner of my room. And the
Did you
next day,
see anything?
no.
Oh my gosh.
Well, okay, so I thought it was my sister, and it was
Uh-huh.
like a heavy breathing in the middle
Mhm.
of the night, which I was kind of annoyed by. So I remember getting a pillow and like throwing it, and it sounded like if someone's breathing heavy and then they get hit by a pillow, like it sounded
Ooh.
like it hit.
What? Oh my God, that's so scary.
It wasn't her and it wasn't anybody. So that's
Thinking about it, I do recall just now that you told a story about you and your teenage friends trying to summon spirits with candles. So maybe there's a correlation there. But you know what? Honestly, it's like, how can you judge a young kid who truly doesn't know right from wrong and they don't know what they're getting into?
Of
You know what I
course.
mean? Like, it's really just unfortunate happenstance at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Honestly.
Yeah.
What
And then actually later on, I ended up living with my mom in a totally different house for a period of time. And while I was there, there was another ghost thing. But this one was actually not dark like the other one.
2 haunted houses?
Yeah.
That's why I don't know. I don't know if it's the houses or if it's me. Like
It's probably you, honestly.
Yeah,
it could
not
totally
trying
be me.
I'm not trying to gas you up. I'm not, for anybody listening, not trying to like, I'm being dead serious. My honest interpretation is that it is you.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know,
Just
and these things
Yeah.
follow you,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I
which is why it's important for you for the rest of your life to always self-care and make
Mhm.
sure you're in a positive state
Yeah.
of being, because then the positive will outwardly manifest.
Yeah, I think I was really young and immature and naive and not knowing what these things could cause in my life. And now that I'm older, I have more understanding of free will and authority. And I now at this point am like able to say, hey, I don't want these experiences,
Mhm.
but back then I was like, I had no idea what to do or what was going on. But yeah, at my mom's house, there was another spirit there that we would actually, I think my mom heard it too, but there was like a little hallway next to my room and you just hear footsteps back and forth all night and like the lights would go on there.
Wow.
And this one to me, I mean, it was scary, obviously, because I mean, it's just a weird thing,
Mhm.
but it didn't feel as dark and scary as the one at the house that I grew up in. It more so just felt annoying. Like we want to sleep and it's like the lights
Like
are
you have a stepsister bugging you in your room all the time.
it was annoying. And my
Get your
mom
own curling iron.
my mom actually has a friend who's I guess like a medium.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Yeah, so she came over to the house and the intention was to just kind of ask the spirit to leave.
Hmm.
And I think if I remember correctly, she said that it was some type of like horse jockey. Like,
Whoa.
I don't know. Like so random, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
completely random. Was it anywhere near like a horse stable or like a racing track or anything like that?
So I grew up in Southern California, so there's a lot of like, I mean, there's Del Mar Fairgrounds. There's
Right.
like horses everywhere around there. First,
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of farmland in the town that I grew up in, so totally possible. But
That's
yeah, that
wild.
was just kind of random, and yeah, she ended up just getting the spirit to leave, and we didn't have issues after that.
And did you have any spooky dreams in that house other than, like after that?
Not that I can remember.
Wow.
Wow.
Have you ever had sleep paralysis?
Twice.
Okay. And that was that like super scary.
Okay, so the first time, I've lived a couple of places. I actually used to live closer to you guys in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, cool. I'm going there
it,
soon.
man.
I'm going there really soon.
Shout out to the A.
Yeah,
Hey.
I lived there for a little bit, and
Awesome.
I was there when I had my first sleep paralysis experience, and it was like middle of the day, and I was taking a nap on the couch, and I was facing like in towards the couch, and I had sleep paralysis, and I couldn't move. And honestly, it did feel like a little bit nefarious. I did feel that kind of like someone's behind me or something's behind me and I can't move.
Yeah.
It was not a great experience, but since I was facing inwards towards the couch, I couldn't see anything.
Okay, that's the other thing I was going to ask, because a lot of times when you have it, like dream pictures will mix in with what your real eyes are seeing, and it's like really spooky. So yeah, you probably lucked out on that one.
On another note, I experienced that on DMT because your body is like unconscious, your body's like asleep, but your
Yeah.
eyes still work. And like I opened my eyes and that like came in with me. Whoa.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the second one actually was very different. And that was only like a year and a half ago. We used to live in like a small studio apartment, and it was weird. It was again middle of the day. I was taking a nap, and
they happen a lot. For some reason, they happen a lot with naps. I've had like hundreds of them, and a lot of them are naps. I don't know why.
Yeah. So I was dreaming, and I woke up, and I was like, I could see what the surrounding would be if I was awake. So I was there in the bed where I was napping.
Yeah.
To see everything. It's so weird. I still just like don't understand. But this dark fog entity appeared to my left. And this one was different than the last one. It actually attacked me.
Oh, shoot.
Whoa, hold on now.
I was fighting it, like kicking, trying to like, but I couldn't say anything. It's weird. It was like I was dreaming but awake. It's like this weird.
You're like half conscious.
Yes, but it was like a physical attack, which was really weird to me. And then the whole timing of everything was so weird because the attack ended because my husband got home and knocked on the door. And that was
Thank God.
But like what the timing of that? Like
that is so mind-blowing. I mean, I don't know how many times I've had sleep paralysis. It's been a lot, but I've never
Is that even considered paralysis though? If I guess I'm not moving in real life, I'm moving in like dreams.
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like sleep paralysis is kind of more broad than it may sound, at least in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But I feel like, there are times in what I would call sleep paralysis where my like dream body can move to a certain extent. But like, for instance, once it was like, I would like wake up in the bed I was sleeping in, and then I would walk out of the room and start walking down the hallway. And then in like a snap, I would be back in the bed again. and that would repeat like 100 times.
Okay.
And it was like my body was moving, but I was trapped. And like, what were you
It
gonna
felt
say?
like my real life body was paralyzed, but
Right.
my dream body could move, if that makes sense.
So
Definitely. Absolutely. That makes perfect sense to me. Yeah.
according to the mystery traditions, the whole reason we come here in the first place, right, is to awaken our consciousness.
Mhm.
And supposedly, a truly psychically awakened consciousness is, according to the texts, awake even when the physical body is asleep. Meaning, most of us, when we dream, it's fiction. It's like these mirages of scenarios we experience on a day-to-day basis. If you go to work a lot in a particular field, you might dream of working in that field, or
Mhm.
dream of a person you think of, or this or that, or dream of whatever fantasy you wish for. But we're not conscious that we're dreaming. You know what I mean? Now, again, the point of an awakened conscious is you're conscious even while you're dreaming, lucid dreaming or astral projecting. And according to these traditions, sleep paralysis is like your consciousness is at a level of psychic development that is pretty far, but you're not conscious of this. So it's like your spirit or your astral body is trying to enter consciously into the astral realm, but you're like not ready, so you're being held back.
Yes.
Yeah, you can actually, and I've heard this a lot of places. I've experienced it myself many times. You can use sleep paralysis as kind of like a jumping off point. If you figure out it's really strange. Yeah,
Yes.
and it's different for every person, but there's like a sequence of things that you can do when you're in that state that it turns the key, and then you're fully aware that you're dreaming and you're fully in control and cognizant, and then it transitions into either a lucid dream or astral projection. I've gotten to lucid dream many times, never astral projection, so that's on my list. That's on my to-do
Makes
list.
a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet if you took the time and study and put in like the proper development and training, you probably could be a gifted either astral projector or lucid dreamer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so too. Have you ever had lucid dreams, Demi?
I don't think so.
They're pretty weird, and it's like it's so strange, especially the first time I ever had one. I wasn't trying to have one, and so it was like the most bewildered. I think I woke up like having a panic attack because I was just like, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
I had no idea. It's like a really weird thing, but now that I'm starting to read about like the spiritual logic behind why lucid dreaming is a thing, and like astral projection is like the cool, we did an interview with Ryan's sister, Emily, and she's been getting into some astral projection.
Yeah.
And it's like something out of a fantasy novel. It's the coolest. Yeah. It's just, it's incredible. So maybe I'll try to train that muscle a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah, when I lived in Sedona, I was actually like really interested in that topic. And I remember like researching about it, and like there's certain herbs you can take to kind of enhance the experience. And
Blue lotus from the Nile River. They grow
interesting.
at the base of the Nile River, yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, so I was always interested in it. Honestly, I think there's always been a part of me that, well, maybe not always, I think I've always felt like I wasn't gifted, or like I wasn't tapped into these things, or people would have certain experiences in meditation that I didn't have, or people could astral travel or whatever, all these things. And like, I never really had that experience. So I think I just kind of told myself that I wasn't gifted, or I wasn't able to experience those things. But obviously now I know everybody can do those things, and you just kind of have to train it if that's something that you want to do.
Yeah, and be aware that it's even possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know that.
No, you're definitely gifted. Just one look at your art and it's like, woo!
Yeah. No doubt.
You're definitely gifted. Yeah. So
going
forward, you're going to rewrite that script, okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
New mantra.
Yeah, new mantra.
Yeah.
We didn't talk much about Arizona. Was there anything there you wanted to? You said you moved to Sedona after graduating high school to search for aliens. Did you find any?
Are you guys familiar with Sedona at all?
Only in name. I've never been there.
No,
Really?
no. Yeah.
Okay. So like we mentioned before, there is like, I think it's like a concentrated energy there. So they have a lot of vortexes. People go there to have spiritual experiences. And yeah, I lived there a long time ago, and it's a lot different now. I think just with the internet, and it's very touristy now. It's so beautiful. But I remember just going to visit with one of my friends when we lived in California, and we went for like a weekend, and I just fell in love with it. It's a very mysterious place.
Really?
Yes, there's a lot of UFO alien activity, a lot of, I guess, secret military stuff that goes on there, probably having to do with the UFOs and all that. So
Yeah,
I was just like really drawn to that. And this was at a point where I just like really wanted to have an experience. And so I went there and I got really obsessed. And I feel like I'm more of like a research mind. Like I love researching. So I was just like reading and researching, but again, didn't have the experience.
Shoot. Honestly, I mean, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't really think a lot of people are having experiences out there, I mean, who knows? I could be wrong. I've never been there.
I don't know. We talk to people all the time in like our little community, our fans and stuff. We hear stories all the time of people having experiences, but then there's probably just as many people that say like, I've never had an experience. I really want to have one. I think it's I almost think it's like a predestined thing. It's like your consciousness will get there when it's, like supposed to happen. I didn't even hanging around this dude and his family. I didn't see anything for years, and I was having the same thing. Like, why am I not seeing anything?
I guess where I'm coming from is like I don't believe that. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not all knowing, but like I don't believe it's necessarily area specific. I believe exactly like what you just said. Like when people have experiences, it was your destiny to, and nothing is by accident. These beings from the other side, they respect our free will, except for the negative ones that we invite in with candles. But and it's not
shame.
No shame. Teenagers,
you get a pass.
You get a pass, yeah. But like I don't know. I mean, I do know that my dad has gone out to. Oh man, I'm trying to think of where he went. It's wherever they claim Area 54 was. God,
in American Cosmic? Are you talking about?
No. They went to New Mexico in American Cosmic.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I could be totally ignorant. Maybe it's a hot spot for activity, and I have no clue.
Well, I think those energy vortexes and stuff, I think they do bring a lot, like a heightened number of experiences. It may not be the experience you're looking for. You know what I mean? But I think that with those energy vortexes, there definitely comes a heightened activity. Like, actually, we have somebody in our Discord community, Danny, shout out Danny, who she actually told us about this crazy thing called, like, what was it called? The Fayette Factor, something like that, where essentially Lafayette, who Fayetteville is named after, there's tons of Fayettevilles all over America. Yeah. Apparently, when he was around the United States, he was going around doing rituals to like raise the paranormal activity in those areas. And like every single Fayetteville in America is like some type of hotspot for paranormal activity.
Was he a Mason?
Yes.
Okay.
It's pretty weird.
I don't know. Like that's very interesting when you think about it. Like these areas where hotspot, activity is claimed, maybe it has something to do with crystal reserves in the ground. Like I know North Carolina, according to what I've heard,
I could be totally wrong,
has like one of the biggest quartz crystal reserves in the world.
It's true.
There could be something to that. I know that there are a lot of reported hauntings around Indian burial grounds,
Oh yeah.
which tend to be out west in places like
Mhm.
New Mexico or Utah or wherever. I don't know. Just watch Pet Cemetery and what's that other movie, The Poltergeist, and you'll find out where Indian burial grounds are. But yeah.
Okay, so what if
What if? We're doing a little impromptu what if episode.
Whoop,
Let's go.
whoop. What if, Siren?
what if it's more of a placebo? So if someone's going to Sedona because they think that the energy is going to give them some type of experience, then they're more open to having an experience.
Wow.
I think that's absolutely very, very likely. It's like if you can get your subconscious to believe something, then it will be real. I mean, that's manifestation, right? That's what that is. So I think you're onto something.
Following that thread, everybody that goes there with this belief would be like powering this battery, like this collective energy of like things manifesting there.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting because it's almost like thinking about the same thing backwards. It's like we were thinking all these people were going there because it's an energy vortex. But what if it is an energy vortex because so many people believe it's an energy vortex?
Yeah. Isn't that how it works? I think that.
Interesting.
Wow. That's crazy. That just blew my mind. What if?
This is going to sound so ignorant, but we're talking Arizona. There's a lot of like ancient Native American culture out there, correct?
Yep.
I really do believe that has something to do with a lot of. Actually, I know that has something to do because I was told by Jim Simivan, one of the highest ranked CIA officers out there. We were in like a private meeting in New York City in I don't remember what floor, in a hotel overlooking Central Park. And the next day we were going to a bar mitzvah of Robin Leach's grandkid, and very nice kid. I don't want to say his name for his sake. And anyway, so we're meeting with these CIA officials, just literally having a ball. And he's talking to us in private, and he's like, "Do you guys have any Cherokee in your ancestry?" And my mom and dad are like, "Yeah, both of us do, in our DNA." And he was like, this doesn't leave the room. Oops. This doesn't leave the room. But we are finding that people with Native American and in many cases, particularly Cherokee DNA, tend to be prone to paranormal experiences. So I don't know. My intuition tells me that a lot of these hotspots around America, we really look at them, they're probably heavy in ancient Native American activity.
I have Native American on my dad's side.
Really?
I also
you
have
don't
Native
say
American on my mom's side.
Yeah, it's interesting. My sister has been doing kind of like ancestry.com work, trying to like figure out our lineage. And we were just talking about it like last week. And I guess with Native American records, they're just not either non-existent or not well kept. So when you get to a certain point in your lineage, it kind of cuts off.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we're at. We don't.
Makes sense. Were you able to figure out what tribe?
No. I think at this point we were not really wanting to do blood tests.
Yeah.
I'm kind of I don't know, skeptical. I don't.
Yeah. Don't blame
like from the conspiracy angle, like not wanting like a clone.
Absolutely.
It'd be awesome.
Shout out Isaac.
Yes.
I talking about it.
That. So we were trying to like figure out if we could just figure it out on our own. But what I'm thinking, my sister's not as skeptical as me. So I'm thinking
let her do it.
Gifting her a DNA.
Let's go.
Yeah, we'll have a clone of you walking around.
No, we'll have a clone of her sister walking around.
That's what I mean. I was speaking from Demi's perspective.
Yeah.
I was acting.
Yeah. Okay. That was fantastic, man. You should do some auditions.
Hey, I don't know if I'm allowed to really say publicly yet. I can tell you after, Demi, if you're curious. But I will just say that, sure, there's a lot of conspiracies about us like giving our DNA away, whatever. I get it. But doing 23andMe has literally hand delivered us very close family members that we had no clue even existed. It's pretty wild. I can tell you after. I just don't know if I should be putting the nature of this out there yet publicly, just for certain people hearing it and being upset or something. But
it is really interesting, and I really want to know like what our background is.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that like what you were saying about the heightened paranormal activity with Native Americans. Just look at how in touch with nature and the human spirit they were.
I believe that's why.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
You know,
and we know now that from science alert. Wait, I'm not allowed to say that. It's fine. But so this is true that we literally like carry trauma, emotions. We carry things from our ancestors in our DNA. So if you have the DNA of a people that were so in touch with the land and nature and their own spirit and the spirit of everything, that tells me there's a special little spark in your DNA somewhere that it's on some higher shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't surprise me. It's so interesting.
Yeah,
very.
totally.
I know my dad was looking through some records recently, and he had like a great grandma or something like that was like born and raised on the Cherokee Reserve. And then he has a birth certificate for another ancestor of his. It could have been on the other side of his family. I don't know who was a Choctaw.
Ooh, yeah.
So you could basically pretty much say I'm Tim McGraw because of that song, right? Cherokee and Choctaw.
Alex, what are you doing, dude? You're supposed to keep him in line. What are you doing?
Clearly, I'm slacking over here.
I can't trust you, dude. He's over here talking about Tim McGraw.
I don't know what's going on.
There's a Tim McGraw song where he talks about being having Cherokee and Choctaw. Come on,
I don't know about that, but I'm not giving my blood to any.
Yeah,
really, the only thing you care to comment on is the conspiracy thing.
That's
of course,
correct.
Of course.
That's it.
Don't sell your DNA to these companies. You don't have no clue.
I think Alex and I have a lot in common.
Yes.
Well, I would. Okay, we're gonna do something different.
We're not
Denny,
going to talk about the emotional side anymore, though.
Do you guys have, do you have a little more time, Demi?
Yeah.
I would love it if you would pitch your favorite conspiracy to Alex right now.
Oh, such a good idea.
My favorite?
Put her on the spot, Ryan.
Well, I'm putting Alex on the spot. Let's see how he behaves.
Alex, switch the camera to yourself.
You go first.
Oh no! Flip the script.
Yeah.
Wait. I'll go.
Okay.
Antarctica.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Honestly, I was like, what can I say? I've been into Antarctica lately, just a little bit.
So I feel like most conspiracies, I have like a pretty good, like you can do research and get a pretty good understanding. Antarctica is like, I feel like that's the biggest mystery. Like there's something going on there, but it's like impossible to figure out because like you can't go there.
You literally just can't go there.
I feel though that you have an extremely strong psychic intuition. So I'm curious to know, what does your intuition tell you is going on in Antarctica? Like seriously, because we've talked about this, like, me, Ryan, and Alex, we've talked about it a little bit, and I know some of Alex's thoughts, but before he poisons your mind with his thoughts, I want to hear what.
So a big thing with Antarctica, I mean, it can quickly go into flat Earth.
For sure.
I'm not a flat earther. I listen to podcasts about it, and I like, if anyone is a flat earther, like I love like
Alex.
telling everything. I want to hear it, But
I don't think realistically Alex has ever once uttered that he is a flat earther.
No, I just immediately assume that he's into every conspiracy theory. That's what it is. Of course he's not into flat earth, dude. He wouldn't be able to surf. Come on.
I don't know how that works.
You know what?
Yeah, me either.
I think because Antarctica is so mysterious, that flat earthers have kind of grabbed onto it because there's a lot that can't be proven there.
It's because
maybe?
there's the ice wall, man.
Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
but
You know
I
what?
do agree that there's something. I think there's something weird. The weird part to me is that if I understand correctly, there's some type of treaty that everybody has agreed to about not going there. And
Yeah.
to
Right.
me, when
Yeah.
has every country agreed on one thing? And like, why is this the one thing?
Yet presidents are flying there,
Uh-huh.
and world politicians. Yeah.
Yes.
There's claims that like there's an 8th continent bigger than all the other continents beyond Antarctica, where like 99% of the population can't go. And I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to think about. I will say this: controversial opinion alert. I am not a flat earther. By no stretch of the imagination do I believe in flat Earth, but can I curse, Demi? Am I allowed on my show?
Yes.
I fucking love flat Earth talk. I fucking love it. I think flat Earth breaking out into the public is one of those things that slowly has been leveling up consciousness. Why? Because it has millions of people beginning to be suspicious and question those fucking liars at NASA and the data that they are putting out about the Earth.
Yep.
I believe that the Earth is probably bigger or larger than they're telling us. Because if you calculate the rate of the curvature of the Earth, according to the NASA model, it truly does not add up. They've proven this with tests on the Great Lakes. Some of them are 100 miles across, and they shine a laser, and you're standing on the other side of the lake, and they're seeing these lasers. That's not possible with NASA's model of the curvature of the Earth. You shouldn't see the laser pass anywhere from 3 to 6 miles because it's supposed to be curving. Do I think Earth is flat? No. But I think, there's probably something.
Wouldn't that mean that the Earth was smaller?
No.
Or am I just really dumb?
Maybe
you just go ahead. Never just ignore.
Maybe you're right. That makes sense too. But my point is that shouldn't happen. That just shouldn't happen. You shouldn't see lasers shining 100 miles away according to the curvature of the Earth. I don't think the Earth is flat. I'm not pushing that out there. I just think that the conversation, when it broke the internet, it got the ball rolling for people to question.
It put a crack in the wall.
It put a crack in the wall. Right.
Yeah.
But people are going way too far with it. Now they've got this model where we're like living on a sombrero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, they draw diagrams. It's like a sombrero, like a flat.
Like one of the ones at Mikasita that they put the chips on.
With the ketchup in the top. Yeah. You remember that, bro? When you would order chicken fingers as a little kid and they'd bring a sombrero with ketchup in the top?
Yeah, dude. That's the Earth, baby. That's
what
the
a
Earth
Mexican
looks like.
restaurant and got chicken fingers?
When I was like 5. Yeah.
Hey, Alex, dude, how about you stop shaming me for my food choices as a 5-year-old, bro?
All right. Seriously.
Let's talk about inner Earth.
Yeah, okay. I want to hear your intuition, Alex. I want to hear what you're...
Yeah, so the Antarctica Treaty thing's very interesting. Antarctica, very interesting in general. For me, it goes to kind of what Ryan said. How much more land out there that's inhabitable are they hiding from us? And then at the very least, Antarctica is a super secret military base or even multinational military base.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even remote view there.
I think that's realistic.
Viewers. Like, they don't have physical people guarding Antarctica. I'm sure they do, but to what extent, right? But I was listening to some astral projection remote viewing expert say that she got bored and was like, let me go to Antarctica. And they have guards who are trained in remote viewing, remote viewing and guarding, and then like following the people out, finding out who they are, and then they get visited in real life.
You mean do you mean following their like remote viewing perception? Right. Like intercepting them, finding out who they are in real life, and then talking to them in real life. Like, what are you doing there?
That's the same with CERN. CERN does the same thing.
Yeah, that's a really good topic too.
Wait, they do?
Yeah, like if you try to, I mean, obviously I haven't, but other remote viewers, if they try to remote view CERN, it's the same. They have like psychic security.
You want to hear something messed up?
Yo, you know what's crazy about that?
That's an emerging business.
You're fine.
Yeah. Dude, don't you remember they did that in Harry Potter? Do you literally?
Yeah.
Literally, thank you. They've been telling us, bro, the whole time. That's wild. Here's the thing. I personally, I do believe in remote viewing. I know people that can do it. And to me, it's like, that's intuitive. If somebody can do it, somebody else can get in the same lane and stop it from happening.
Or maybe there's a technology, like a technology that's like it's a barrier. I don't know.
No, that makes sense too.
When my dad was taken to mission control at NASA, this will be in the book too. I'm pretty sure that when he was walking up to the gates to enter the facility with a guy named Tim Taylor, look him up. If for anybody out there who doesn't know who he is, look him up. And he told my dad, "You see that black box? If you sing a song out loud in your mind for 4 minutes or more on repeat, it won't be able to read your mind. Or not out loud, but in your mind. If you sing a song in your mind." Basically implying that they have mind reading technologies. And he implied they had like time travel technologies. You want to hear something messed up? This same figure, God bless him, he is the mythologized billionaire playboy super secret James Bond guy written about in this book called American Cosmic. You know the stuff he was telling us when I was a younger guy, like in my early 20s? He was telling my dad that for the rest of our lives, my family would be psychically spied on by a team of remote viewers in a dark black room in 24-hour shifts constantly spying on us. Now, is that really happening? Probably not, but MK Ultra conspiracy? Come on now.
Yeah.
Why would you say that to kids?
Right,
other than to terrify them?
Trauma, yeah, to instill trauma in them. So, Alex, you think Antarctica is the portal to inner Earth?
I think if there is a portal to inner Earth, it's Antarctica.
Yeah, I tend. Okay, let me ask you this, because there's also theories, and I'd love to know what you think about this, Demi. Do you have thoughts about Atlantis?
I was just going to bring that up because
all right.
There's a connection. I can't remember if it's Atlantis or Lemuria. I think it's Lemuria, actually, like very similar to Atlantis.
Yeah.
But I can't remember how Lemuria came to an end. I think it was some type of, I don't know. Do you know that? I want to say.
I want to say it's very similar to the.
It's similar. It's similar.
Yeah.
Tsunami or something like that.
Yeah.
So people go underground, and so there's a theory that they went to Mount Shasta.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard that?
I have, yeah.
We just did our Bledsoe Said So Christmas party at a restaurant that was Lemuria themed. And
really?
Yeah, it was cool. And he told us all about that. And it was like
what?
it
was
cool.
crazy. It was really crazy.
Yeah.
What's the name of the place?
Mount Shasta.
No.
The Sorrow Drowner.
Sorrow Drowner in Wilmington. Yeah, it's such a cool place. It's
super
so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, he has all kinds of like occult artifacts in there. Like it's like a museum, but you also like go and get drinks and eat and stuff. It's a cool place.
That's so cool.
He mentioned Mount Shasta. That's why I brought that up.
Yeah. So people have all different types of experience. I mean, that's another place that has some type of energy that people go to. It's very similar to Sedona.
Yeah.
But people see beings that are very they've been described as like Palladian looking, like tall, blonde, fair skinned, and a lot of people think that they're like from Lemuria and they're living on inner Earth under Mount Shasta.
I mean, go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, my whole intuition here tells me that if there were other beings, big if, and I mean a really fucking big if there were other physical beings, it would only make sense to me that they're coming from the inner Earth, if even possible, and not from other places. I really don't think we can go out there. I think this is a realm.
Or our oceans.
Yeah, or the oceans, which could tie into the inner Earth thing. I mean, bro, didn't you watch Godzilla vs. Kong? They went down to the bottom of the ocean to go to inner Earth. Oh, that's right.
Of course he didn't see it.
Yeah.
I feel like these other beings are more interdimensional than actually physical, because even if you're thinking of like Atlantis or Lemuria, they're supposedly very spiritually advanced people. So maybe they have even technology, but maybe they're more advanced to the point where they're in a different frequency.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily think they're like physical, like us living under the ground. I don't know. I feel like they kind of are more interdimensional, so they can like come and go. I think we just don't understand, honestly. I think
Yeah.
there's way more to it that we can't comprehend.
I feel like the whole Atlantis thing, in my mind, it's one of two things. It's either completely metaphor, and it's all about like the occult knowledge, the ancient, knowledge, the ancient mysticism and that stuff, and how it was like buried deep into our subconscious, deep beyond our subconscious, where it was like
deep.
out of reach. We were disconnected from it. And only by diving into the water of our subconscious or the water of our spirit can we retrieve that ancient knowledge. I think it's either that or it's literal, and like it was a real place. And to me, if it was a real place and there was anything left surviving from those remnants, it'd probably be in the middle of the earth, dude. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I agree, dude.
That's just where my brain goes. And to be honest, I kind of believe them equally. I don't really know which one to believe. There's crazy evidence that there's really, like Alex just rattled off a bunch of evidence. Like that's real stuff you can find out there. It's pretty crazy. But I love thinking about Atlantis. And yeah, that's something that has been kind of coming to me recently, is that like maybe it's all just some elaborate metaphor for us burying our spark of God deep down in us, or more so them burying it, forcing us to bury that piece of ourselves so that we forget the truth, that kind of thing. That's just kind of been kicking around in my head lately.
Isn't the story of Atlantis kind of like a time where people were more in tune with like truth and knowledge, and they kind of progressed, but also technologically to a point where they kind of destructed themselves?
Yeah, the supposed reason behind the destruction is they became too egotistical, too arrogant, believed that they were in a sense like
Gods.
not one with God, but like we're God. And like that was the fall. It was the hubris. Like our power was too great. Technology depends on the material you read. If you read Helena Blavatsky, which for any new listeners who don't know who that is, that's a deep rabbit hole. And Helena Blavatsky's theory is like, we were not fully physical beings. We were like kind of this strangely evolved, like spiritual type of entities that could literally just like manifest with our minds, like what we would consider magic. And there was some great war that befell like ancient black magicians and white magicians, and it like basically terraformed the land. If you look into other, I don't know, like off the top of my head exactly how Edgar Cayce describes it, some people say it's like a metaphor for like our descent into matter, because before we come here we're these higher beings, and then when we come here it's, we descend into matter, and we've forgotten the ancient knowledge that comes from above, but like Nick said, it's buried deep within the waters of our subconscious mind. I think all of these things are simultaneously true because we're in a multiverse of consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you got to send me that Edgar Cayce thing. That really like sent my brain on a little adventure there for a second. That just thinking about the entire angle of it, from a place of metaphor, it makes so much sense. And yeah, Helena Blavatsky, her whole theosophic approach to these ideas by relating them to like fiction, to fantasy, and to existing exoteric religions. I think she was one of the most psychically intuitive people to ever live, probably.
For sure.
I could read about her forever. Like it's infinitely interesting to me. But yeah,
Gigi Young.
Gigi Young, not familiar.
No.
Oh, when you said Gigi Young, I thought Gigi Allen, but I don't know Gigi Young.
She's amazing. She's like one of my biggest teachers, but she's on YouTube and she teaches, I want to say it's Theosophy. Steiner, like a lot of her work.
Oh yeah, Rudolf Steiner, love him.
Yeah, she's amazing. I've learned so much from her, but she does like 3-hour lectures on YouTube. And
I
it's
just
just
found her
so,
channel. Yeah, I'm gonna
so
subscribe right
it's
now.
amazing. She is so good. I've learned so much from her. But yeah, I think you guys might find that interesting. It's really deep. There's,
Uh,
I mean,
I
I've
just
been
pulled up her
following
channel, and the first video is about Atlantis.
yeah.
Come on
And
now.
she goes so deep. And I mean, she goes way in. There's sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't understand this. It's way in my head. But I usually can get like bits and pieces from her. But yeah, she's an awesome resource.
So for many years, I avoided reading Helena Blavatsky and Rudolf Steiner because, admittedly, I was put onto them by the CIA,
Mm.
and I I'm very jaded about government offices. I do not trust just because of what I've been through, just experience alone. My intuition tells me, obviously, like, just don't trust everything I hear from these federal employees. These federal agents, and I mean, I've sold furniture, and I can tell you, just being a little couch salesman, I had to mark prices up 40%. We had to lie to customers. Do you think that the federal government's going to be telling you the truth about everything they do? Fuck no. And anyway, so the CIA put me onto Helena Blavatsky and Rudolf Steiner. So for many years, I avoided it. I was like, this is weird. They put me onto Rosicrucianism. This is weird. This is weird. Like, this just doesn't resonate with me. And I started going through my experience, my journey of like following the occult and metaphysical knowledge. And my intuition led me to understand, that not all secret societies are bad. Like some of, and the mystical truths. And I walked away from like fundamental Christianity. I started diving really deep into Gnosticism, Rosicrucianism. And I remembered, like, man, when I was like a 22-year-old kid, they were telling me about this stuff. Maybe they were trying to plant a seed. I don't know, whatever. But when I started studying Rosicrucianism, to me, it checks out. And when you start reading their official manuscripts, literally, they write about Rudolf Steiner and Helena Blavatsky, who were not even initiated members. So apparently these two figures were so profoundly influential that one of the most ancient and influential metaphysical societies on planet Earth since the times of Egypt, back to the mystery schools under the pharaoh Thutmose III, the Rosicrucians claim they have this authentic lineage. They're writing about Blavatsky and Steiner. So it makes me wonder, like, the CIA officials, why were they telling me some things that were good, and then they're like, but we got to make a movie about you where reptilians are eating people. It's like,
Gosh.
Yeah, I feel like it's back to that like subconscious filter thing. I think it's like maybe they thought you were like a scared little kid, and maybe they thought that showing you that stuff would freak you out, or it would hit you in the wrong way and it would turn you off. But in reality, like, your spirit recognized it as the truth, and you were like, oh, see, they just made a huge mistake. They shouldn't have showed me that. That's at least what my intuition tells me. But yeah, I think Blavatsky and Steiner were grabbing the stuff out of the collective consciousness. And actually,
and Casey too.
Yeah, Edgar Casey, exactly. Yeah, and that actually reminds me of I wanted to ask you, Demi, do you believe in artistic psychic downloads? Like, I like to call them the muses, because it's like the Greek, that's. Do you believe in that sort of thing?
Can you explain further? I don't know.
Absolutely. So I think what I believe is that people who are artistically gifted, I think that art is a psychic medium, and I think that it interfaces with us via these inspirational downloads. So I'll be my art medium of choice is music. So I'll be laying in bed at midnight trying to go to sleep, and then out of nowhere something just pops in my head. I have no clue where it came from, but it's like gnawing at my brain, like, and it will not stop until I put it somewhere. Like, even if I just pull out my phone and like hum or like whatever, that's kind of what I mean. You're getting like a download from some other source.
I've heard a lot of artists speak about that, actually, and a lot of musicians will talk about that. It kind of reminds me of that. I don't know what it's called. Is it automated writing or something?
Automatic writing.
Automatic writing. it kind of reminds me of that, where it's, you almost have to let go in
Mhm.
order to allow for the downloads to come in. And then at that point, you're almost channeling
Yeah,
whatever is
absolutely.
out on the paper. And I don't know. I mean, like we talked about, like I definitely with my art enter a flow state.
Yeah.
So maybe it's similar to that in a way.
Yeah. I think yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about it that way, but you're entering a flow state. Let me ask you this: when you create these mandalas, when you
Mhm.
start on them, do you have a very very specific vision of exactly how you want it to be, or is a lot of it based on your intuition?
It's intuition.
Then
And
there
yeah.
you go. That's the answer. Then
So
yeah,
I'm actually like kind of, I also teach this type of art. Um,
awesome.
I'm on YouTube and I teach some there and I teach some on Instagram.
Is
Uh,
it Thoughtful Dots on YouTube? Is that your channel name? Awesome. Go check it out, everybody. Go check it
totally.
out.
But there's only so much you can teach, I feel, when it comes to art. And I
Mhm.
feel like since this is like sacred geometry, mathematical, like it is, I use guide marks. So I use a compass and or protractor, and I mark out guide marks basically to make sure that everything's going to be symmetrical.
Awesome.
But I think that people that try this art form get so analytical because
Mm,
it is detailed and you do want it to be perfect. But the part that I can't teach is the flow. Like you have to almost not be so rigid. You have to let go a little bit so that the flow can happen. And so teaching that to people is hard. So I do draw out the guide marks, but the patterns, that's a flow. You know,
wow.
it comes, they flow together. It's I pick out the colors ahead of time, but the patterns and stuff that it ends up different every time. So when I do custom orders, so people can reach out to me and pick colors, but that's all that I allow them to pick. So it's like you pick
Gotcha.
the colors, I can do whatever colors that you want, but I have to choose the pattern because I have to enter that flow. And I can't enter a flow if I'm trying to do a specific pattern. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It does.
100%. And just looking at your art, it I knew that was the answer. You can't get that kind of art through math, through
Mhm. Yeah.
purely math
Yep.
and yeah, rigid
It
structure.
seems like
That
the
that
pieces would be hard to replicate.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that is so obviously looking at it. It's so obviously intuitive art,
Mhm.
and that's like that obviously came from some place that you don't even really know. It's just you got in that flow, you got on that frequency, and you wrote it. And it's so cool that you can just look at that piece, and that's like a snapshot of
Mhm.
of wherever your spirit was at that time when you made it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true, and I love how every single one is unique. Like, none of them will ever be the same.
Yeah, it's like a fingerprint.
Love
Yeah,
it.
totally.
I'd like to grab the piece that you made for me and show it off.
Oh,
It
yeah?
might be
Yeah,
in the closet.
yeah. It is.
Awesome.
We have to, and we took a pic. I think we took a picture and threw it up on the socials or something. But
We
we
did.
have to. We have to show it here. It is so incredible. And yeah, I knew in my mind like this is definitely a flow state kind of thing.
Mhm.
But I just had to know for sure because that's something that only within the past really since we started the show
Yeah.
I made that discovery like oh art is psychic like
Yeah,
it
totally.
and so yeah that's a very new thing for me but I believe it wholeheartedly now I call it the muses
Uh-huh.
it's like the Greek thing but
Yeah.
I mean I've had that experience for honestly quite some time. I just didn't know what to call it before then, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
and I do, like I said, I do teach people, and I've kind of had this idea of kind of like shifting a little bit into more of like art therapy.
Oh, cool.
Honestly, that's what it is for me, you know, and it's helped me with my addiction. It's helped me with ADD. It's helped me with mindfulness. Like it's way more than just art. Like it
Yeah.
really is a type of therapy. And so I've kind of just been like playing with that idea of it's hard to teach somebody flow, but I think it could be taught, you know, and I think it could be taught as anyone learns meditation, for example.
No, I think you're right. And so the mindfulness thing and the thoughtful dots kind of thing, I'd love to know kind of where that came from. Like what inspired you to what got you into the idea of mindfulness?
Ooh. So I feel like that just kind of, I mean, it really started with my sobriety. Like
Awesome.
sobriety is such an interesting thing because you're so like used to living one way.
Sure.
And then when you switch, it's like this whole new world opens up. And to me, it was like I had to relearn myself, if that makes sense. So it was like mindfulness was a huge thing. I had to learn myself. I had to learn my triggers and how to deal with them. I had to figure out emotions and how to deal with them. Like the whole thing was all centered around mindfulness.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that prior to that you didn't really feel in touch with yourself emotionally, and how hard of a thing that is to unlock. Yeah, which totally. Alex can attest to, of course.
Yeah,
he didn't hear you.
Oh, that's he felt me. You know what I'm saying?
But, hey, you know what? We got to give him some credit.
Oh, of course. And I'm going to say
smack about me.
Alex is my husband from a past life, as told by Vincent, Jenna, shout out. And so I just got to bicker with him sometimes, but he knows I love him. And I'm actually very proud of him. I think he is getting in touch with his emotions. I really do.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about.
I'm so
I could not find the rainbow piece. I think my wife put it somewhere, but thank God.
Is it under that lamp?
No, but I went and grabbed the one that's under the lamp because I did not mention this, but she actually sent us 2 pieces. So I grabbed the smaller piece. I'm going to hold it up to the camera, but look at how radiant this is. Look at the gold popping with the red and the blue. Look at this.
Oh, my goodness.
I love that.
You know what it reminds me of? It looks like peacock feathers.
Yes. As I spin it clockwise, stare at the center and awaken your consciousness.
Yes. Oh, shoot. Hold on. It's one for each eye. I'm about to get hypnotized. Oh. Wow. I actually love that. Like teal. Is that like a dark teal?
Yeah, I love blues.
That is cool.
Yeah, me too.
Same. Yeah, and you guys can see that one.
Yeah.
Wait, there was another one to the left. My left. It might be your right. There.
Hey!
Yeah, look at that.
Hold on. I'll show you guys that one because it's really pretty.
That looked like Bledsoe said so colors.
Yeah, it does.
It has metallics, and so see how it like shines.
It's like peacock feathers, but fractal.
Yeah.
Well, also when people have psychedelic experiences, that's another thing that they use to describe what they see is like that peacock feather, the eye of the peacock feather. Yeah, you see that a lot, or at least you hear about it.
To it, yes.
No, definitely. I think so too. I think that this is. I feel like when I look at those, I'm getting like a glimpse into the paranormal reality, the spiritual reality. You know, like I've seen stuff like that in very, very sensitive spiritual states. Yeah, and it feels like comforting almost.
So just so you know, looking out there, like seeing this piece, each one of these individual dots are like
teeny tiny.
They're 3D pieces of paint that she thoughtfully like put in and allowed to dry. It has a physical texture to this. I mean, it's really cool. Yeah. It's really high quality art.
It's remarkable.
So there's like all of these paints that you guys can see up here.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then down here, there's actually a specific type of paint that's in a bottle. And so it squeezes and makes like a 3D raised dot.
Awesome.
So I'll use regular flat paint, and then on certain details, I'll do the raised dot so that it like you can feel the texture.
So Is the regular paint acrylic or what kind of
Yeah.
paint is it? Okay, and then what is the other kind? The kind that raises up? Is that a secret?
It's the same. It's just a different consistency. It's thicker.
Nice.
We
It's
need to get you
thicker
some
so that it,
5D
like,
paint.
raises up.
Some 5D paint? Is that
Yeah.
what you said?
Age of
What?
Aquarius, get some 5D paint. Yeah.
Age of Aquarius.
Oh,
That's amazing. Yeah,
Wow.
we are so obsessed with your work. It is truly incredible, truly remarkable.
Honestly, it is.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
thank
So
you.
I feel like we're at a good stopping point, but there is an open door for later sometime this year for you to come back on for another, like maybe a part 2 if that's something you'd like.
Yeah.
Please, whenever. This was
And
such a fun conversation.
And I do want to eventually go see the orbs.
Oh yeah, we'll just have to.
Yeah.
Well, then that's when we would do a part 2 is when you're in.
Oh,
In
that's
person.
a great idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be incredible. We could do an in-person episode.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
Me-
that would be so much fun.
Yeah, and me and Nick will wear like tie-dye onesies head to toe, and we'll like
Yes.
we'll be like 3D art piece fractals.
I love it.
Well, that
We're
part's
doing that.
negotiable. We'll figure that part out.
We're
but-
doing that. We're doing that.
Okay.
100% we're doing that.
All right.
Yeah.
So typically when we have guests, I like to ask the question, if everyone in the world was listening right now in this moment, Demi, what do you feel is the most important thing that you wish you could tell the world?
Something that I've learned this year is how important it is to do something that you're passionate about. I know we're not all in that space that we can quit our day jobs and go pursue a passion, but I've just seen how important it is to find something that you can pursue that you're passionate about. That's
Give
exactly
us-
what you guys are doing too.
Give us some of your energy so that we can do that.
What is this? Is
It's a
this like-
mudra. It's the prana
okay.
mudra. It's
We're
the
doing
prana
it.
mudra. You
We're
got to touch
sharing our
the. You got to
energies.
touch the fingertips like this. Fingertips.
Okay, cool.
Fingertips.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Come on
Boom,
now,
boom,
Demi.
boom, boom,
Fingertips.
boom.
Fingertips. There you go.
Yeah. we
Give us
got
some
it.
of your energy. Give us some of your energy. We're gonna
Yes.
eventually be living off this.
Yeah.
Pursue your passion and make it happen so you can do that full time and be happy and stop working soul crushing jobs.
I fully resonate with that. I recently discovered how important it is for me to actively be doing music
Yeah.
and how when I'm not doing that, I'm depressed. And actually, the same applies to doing the show. If we have a long break where we're not doing the show, I start getting real antsy, real depressed, and it's not good for me. It's like, it's almost like people that are blessed with creativity. It's like, it's a blessing, but if you don't use it, it can be a
Yes.
curse.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's like suppressing your true self.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful message for everybody to hear.
Excellent.
I co-sign.
Yay. Thank you guys.
All right, Demi,
Oh, yeah.
lead us. You know how we
Um,
end every single episode. Were you gonna say
Plugs?
something? Oh yeah, of course. God,
Come on now, we gotta plug it up.
yeah.
Oh, my socials? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, go
Oh,
for it.
yes. So I'm Thoughtful Dots on Instagram and YouTube. And you can also find any other information on my website, which is thoughtfuldots.com.
Go check it out, everybody. Also, patreon.com/Bledsoe. So if you like us and you want to be cool.
There you go.
Okay, you know how we wrap up the show, right? The bye
do I?
guys.
Oh.
The bye guys.
Oh,
So
don't
on
be
the count of-
disappointed now. Come
So
on.
on the count of three,
I
we
wanted
gotta,
to. I'm just kidding. No.
we gotta give them a bye, guys. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, check out our other videos.
And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. See you next week. Peace.